stepping inside the principal's office, building community with the right synergy. Stepping.
A lot of times this topic comes up with leaders. It's either met with
It's a safe place to be, where leaders can be free. Come learn new lessons.
gap is closing.
Feel free to ask a question. The principal's office. Inside the principal's office.
I mean, are you guys principals or middle school students?
Inside the principal's office.
Hello and welcome back to yet another episode. Before you get worried, I have not been kidnapped. I am not in a dungeon. I'm in my new office and I'm trying to figure out lighting. So for now, I've got this weird effect. At some point, I'll look like my fabulous co-stars here with me this evening. So welcome back to Inside the Principal's Office. So happy that you are here. Really, really looking forward to this topic. It is one, if you're anywhere online, on social media, anywhere, this is a topic that is coming up. And we thought, what better way than to discuss how AI is impacting education and especially school leaders with two tech gurus that I am honored to call my friends, because we have been able to connect throughout all of these social media spaces. My name is Charles Williams. I am one half of this show. Michael, unfortunately, he's not going to be able to join us today. He is stuck out in St. Louis and is not feeling very well. So, Mac, I hope that you feel better. I hope that you are able to catch this later on and that we do you proud, sir. I will do my best to carry it for both of us. My name is Charles Williams. I am a school administrator in Chicago. I'm also the host of the Counter Narrative podcast and the founder of CW Consulting, where I do all the things. I get to travel around and speak and connect with educators, which is phenomenal. I get to have a blast, but one of the best spaces that I get to be is right here in this space, and I have my friends here. So I'm just going to pass it around the horn. I'll start it off with Debbie and then kick it over to you, Alfonso. Tell us a little bit about who you are, and I'm looking forward to sharing this space with you.
Well, thank you so much for having me on. I'm Debbie Tannenbaum. I am a school-based technology specialist in Northern Virginia. Basically, that means that I get a chance to help teachers and their students to find transformative ways to use technology to really amplify student learning. So I love that. This year, I even gotten to work with pre-K, which has been really fun and interesting in the same way. But in addition to that, I'm also an author. My book, Transform Techie Notes to Make Learning Sticky. I feel like this is like, ta-da.
There you go. Show it off.
Was published on my birthday almost 2 years ago, which is super cool. And it really talks about how technology transformed my life and how it can transform the lives of others. And in addition, I got a chance to contribute to a book all about engagement. And then besides that, I've been really enjoying the last couple of years doing a lot of speaking around the country at different conferences. I'm a newly minted ISTE certified educator, which I am extremely proud of because it was so hard. But I'm really excited to be here tonight and discuss a topic that, I think a lot of educators are a little scared of right now, and to give them some advice on how to move forward with it.
Well, I appreciate you being here, and it was phenomenal to connect with you. Debbie and I got to spend some time together down in New Orleans.
Yes, we did.
Where we ran into each other in the French Market of all places. So
yes, we did.
That was great. Fonz, who I've not had a chance to meet in person yet, but I know that time is coming. How are you
I've
today?
met Fonz in person.
I'm jealous.
Absolutely. Yes. Just thankful to be here with you both. Excited because you guys have both been guests on my podcast too as well.
Mm-hmm.
So this has been something that is amazing just to be here with you all. And of course, my name is Alfonso Mendoza, but everybody knows me as Fonz, so you can call me Fonz. I am the host of the My EdTech Life podcast. Been podcasting for 3 years, anything and all important subjects in, education and with amazing guests just like Charles, and of course is Debbie, and 197 other guests. We're almost at 200 episodes, and I'm
Nice.
also a presenter. And in my district, I work as what we call an instructional software specialist. Really, it's I cover the whole district, and we focus on rolling out our technology initiatives with teachers and any new platforms that may come in, and also work with students as well and helping them engage with the tech. And of course, just a big time passionate EdTech enthusiast, and of course just really excited about today's topic, which is something that since about December, almost every week we've had about 2 to 3 guests that come in, and we've been definitely talking and diving in deep to this topic. So I'm just thankful that you have invited me here so we can add to this wonderful conversation. And like Debbie said, we know things that we can share to help our educators feel comfortable in this space, and of course with this new technology.
Absolutely. And one of the things that he didn't share, we were joking about it prior to the show starting, it was also on the cover of a magazine. So,
Yes, he was.
you got to add like model to that as well. So if you're new to the show, welcome to the space. We're happy that you're here, and we want to know that you are here. This is not just the three of us having a conversation. So feel free to jump in, drop your ideas, your comments, your feedback, or your questions. If time permits, we would love to have a conversation around one of the questions that you present, because typically what we do is we have 2 questions that will be posed in video format. We'll have a brief conversation around those, and then we'll close out with ideas that stick. Of course, this show was designed for educational leaders, not principals, not administrators, educational leaders. So anybody out there who are trying to be those front runners, those people who are pushing forward, pushing the boundaries, and what better way to start that conversation than with AI? So I don't know about you all, but I'm ready to jump into this. Are you ready for question 1?
Sure, let's go.
All right, let's go.
Definitely.
Inside the principal's office, discussion question 1. Artificial intelligence is still a very new technology, and many educators are reluctant to integrate these resources into schools and classrooms. What are some common concerns around the usage of AI, and how can we persuade leaders to give it a try?
And this is a great question. For every article that I see, out there about all the wonderful things happening around AI, I also read the other articles like AI is becoming sentient. It has the mindset of like, don't do this, right? We're steps away from Terminator. So it's a great question. So Debbie, I'm going to kick it over to you first. What are some common concerns? Because I know, right, even having this conversation with my wife, like teachers are like, not okay. Others are willing to embrace.
Well, it's really interesting to me because, one of the first experiences I really had with dealing with this was actually as a parent. The high school my daughter goes to, they decided they were going to have the kids write their essays on paper. And my daughter has a writing learning issue, and she really needs that computer for it. And, to me, going through that, not something I would have thought about, because to me, at that point, it seems so far away. Right. But, we wouldn't ask kids to do all of their work on, a chalkboard at this point, and so plus, at least in my school district, most of that AI is blocked. So especially with like ChatGPT and stuff for students, not for adults. So, seeing that end, but also I've had a lot of teachers coming up to me asking me about using the resources so that they can increase their productivity. So I see a lot, but I also see that hesitation where I don't want my teachers are like, well, I want my kids to still be able to write. And the more research I've been doing about this, I think a lot of this is going to require a huge paradigm shift about how we show our kids, how our kids show what they know. And, writing that, 3-paragraph essay might not be the only way of showing understanding anymore.
No, I absolutely agree with you. I mean, that's a conversation we have a lot, right? Like, let's move away from those traditional models, right? We thought the pandemic was going to be the catalyst. We kind of slid right back into it. So it's like, here it is. Maybe this is a tool that's going to propel us hopefully forward. and not just backwards into writing those standard essays on paper. Bonds, what are you thinking?
Yeah, actually, I wrote a paper. This all started too. My fascination was because I wrote a paper for one of my doctoral classes, and it was talking about, emphasizing the advantages, but also the perils. And I agree with both of you. There's a lot of hype. Obviously, you see a bright new shiny tool, and there's a lot of educators that are like those first adopters that are putting stuff out and are sharing. And sometimes I feel that we move a little too fast and not really taking into account the other side, as far as the data privacy, the
Yeah.
fear of job loss, the bias, actually, and a lot of those things that do come with AI. So at least my position, yes, I am here all for it, but at the same time, I'm always taking into account the privacy and security as far as, what our students are putting in, what are they doing with that data, but not only that, but also for our teachers as well. As anything that we do, we pretty much leave a digital footprint. And so that collecting of sensitive information, what exactly is it that you're putting in, that is my biggest fear, just because even though our students may be very knowledgeable and tech savvy, and also teachers, oftentimes, we don't realize what type of information that we're putting in that can be used. And of course, these AI training models that are, save all this information. And so that, for me, is my biggest concern, that we're using it adequately and that we stick to the AI platforms, I should say, that are within our education space, that have been vetted, that follow COPA, FERPA, and all of those good things. But also, I want to also state that we should involve all stakeholders in this conversation, including superintendents, board members, principals, and the biggest ones for me would be parents, to share this, because oftentimes parents are left in the dark because they're out there doing what they need to do to provide and so on. And they need to be aware of this technology as well. So those are some of the things that I see. I don't see that this would, radically cut teachers off of, from schools and so on, because there is a teacher shortage. I want to say, like what Debbie was saying, that a lot of her teachers are coming up to her and asking, hey, how can I be more productive with this? And so I think that this can alleviate some of those menial tasks with paperwork that may need to be done. This can help. Feedback, lesson plans, like not having to necessarily reinvent your lesson plan, but just really adding some spice to it, and also being able to differentiate within seconds of what you have created for your students. So definitely a lot of upside. But like with Debbie, we were talking pre-chat, and Debbie, I hope you're okay that I bring this up, but you were, showing how you gave a specific input, and then it gave you information about yourself that wasn't accurate. So going into that too, the bias, what kind of information are we putting in that we're getting these biases that our outputs are having? And that's a big concern too as well.
Absolutely. Go ahead, Debbie.
No, and knowing that depending on what you're using, what type of artificial intelligence you're using, you don't know where that, how old that data set is, and but there are definitely times where you've put stuff in and it doesn't come out true, and that kind of builds on that whole idea of that critical thinking piece. And I'm less worried about teachers not being around, because I feel like this is a great opportunity for teachers to really focus on what makes us as educators special, the human aspect. And I see a lot in the places that I work with, where I start to see a lot of people trying to do the same thing. And I really want to make sure we have to help build our students and the educators we work with as humans, and really work on that, because there's going to be so many things that the AI can do and automate, but there's things that it can't do as well.
Yeah,
Exactly.
if I'm not mistaken, I think it was Sarah, and I don't remember. I just know her as Sarah. I forget her last name, but she's all over social media as well. And she put out this post at one point that said, AI isn't like replacing talent
Yeah.
and skills, right? It's augmenting it, right? It's only as good as the users themselves.
Yeah.
It's just one of those things that I think that as Fonz, as you mentioned, like considering the things that we're putting in, considering how we're utilizing it. I'll be honest. I have a friend who I was helping out with some work, and I was like, I'm not sure what this is, and so I started playing around, and I really started utilizing like ChatGPT, and my wife was like, "What are you doing? Don't mess with that. Like, don't do that." And I said, "But it's powerful if it's used the right way." And she was telling me
Absolutely.
about a lesson that she was planning. It was in the evening, was already late, and she's like, I still got to work on this lesson plan. So I was like, well, what is the lesson about? So I start typing it in, right? And it like generates a lesson plan. And she's like, yeah, but I'm doing it for like middle school EL students. And
You're
I was
like,
like, oh, really? And, she's like, but I would need sentence stems. Okay.
yeah,
Right. And she's like, this is powerful. And I said, well, yeah. I said, now it gives you a foundation, right?
yeah.
And from here, you could take this and you could adapt it and you could modify it and you could utilize it however you want. And so I love this idea that we as educators are going to have to get creative to say, let's not view this thing as a terrifying tool that kids are just going to use it to copy, right? I mean, remember when like cell phones were first becoming a thing, right?
Yeah.
Like we find ways to say, okay, how do we utilize this technology? This isn't a new thing for us. We've been down this pathway. So I'm very curious. I want to focus a little bit more on the second part of this. If you were to talk to a leader, right? If a leader's like, yeah, but the cheating, right? So we're going to go back to writing on slate tablets or whatever it is, like your daughter, like if you had like just a elevator pitch to be like, this is why you should consider AI. Not that you have to use it in every aspect, but here's something that you should consider about how it could be beneficial, how it could be helpful.
Well, I think you really need to think, and like obviously with things like ChatGPT, I'm in elementary school, so they're not supposed to use it. But I think we have to prepare our kids for the future. We really have to make sure that they can look at information that they get online and really analyze it and use it effectively. And for some of our students, using a tool like this really can kind of help them spur some of those ideas. I mean,
Yeah.
it's almost like it's a lot like brainstorming. And we have to, we have tools that can do these things, and we need to teach our kids how to use them responsibly. Telling kids not to do something is going to have the opposite effect. But we have to explain to them, what is the AI? How is that data built? How is it? What is it? What kind of data is it taking? And really have them understand what it is. So that way they understand what they're doing with that. I mean, even when we do stuff with introducing programs to our students, we have things where our kids have to sign, permission, our parents sign permission slips. Well, I have to explain to the kids, well, this is why we're doing this.
Right.
Because, as an elementary school kid, they might not really care about the data about them that's going out, but as an adult, they will. And they don't realize how much tracking there is in what we do every single day. I mean, there's a reason why after you've looked at something on the internet, all of a sudden it starts popping up on your Facebook page.
There's a reason, right? When you mention it, it shows up everywhere. So now all of our phones and all of yours, viewers, you're going to get nothing but AI stuff. You're welcome. You're welcome.
Absolutely. Well, for me, I just wanted to add a little bit about what Debbie said, add to the brainstorming part. I think oftentimes, and this isn't quite my elevator pitch, but I love what she said, that brainstorming concept, and a lot of teachers had that fear of, okay, the writing, the cheating, and so on. Yeah. But if you really, in your experience, Charles, in your experience, Debbie, and I know probably in my experience too as well, when we are using a tool like ChatGPT, and you mentioned earlier, Charles, your output is only going to be as good as your input. Sometimes we have to really think about what we're putting in there. And as a matter of fact, sometimes it just feels like we're writing, we're getting our ideas across, but maybe not, very cohesive. But then all of a sudden, the output is exactly either what we need or we can refine it. And I think that's
Yeah.
a big component of that brainstorming part. This is a tool, just like Debbie says, this is a tool that's going to help. And so for myself, that elevator pitch for a district leader or anybody would just be the ability for personalization and efficiency. Personalization to meet that student's needs. In this case, for example, myself, where maybe I have writer's block or I just can't quite get my thoughts together, but I know what I'm trying to convey. But maybe the writing is not my forte. But with a tool like this, we can do the brainstorming. We can come out with an output that we can later tweak or, just get our idea across. But also the efficiency component that we have pretty much all alluded to, like you mentioned with the lesson planning, is refining what you have, where you don't have to come up with something entirely new, because as educators, we already have infinite resources from all our years that we can take, and we simply give it a refresh. It's something efficient that will take our lesson planning to the next level to be able to enhance and meet those needs for our students in an efficient way, that at the end of the day, we can gain, 10, 15 minutes, even if it's just to sit in our classrooms or in our offices with the lights off and just decompressing. I think that's a win. So for me, that would be one of the biggest things that I would be able to share with a school leader or some of the stakeholders that would be involved in the conversation.
Well, thank you.
I think that as you're saying, if we talk about teacher, shortages, one of the biggest reasons that I hear is that teacher workload. And I hear a lot about teachers being like, there's just so much to do. There's so much to do. Well, there's some things that we can do. I mean, I know right now at our school, we're using Lexia a lot for reading. And a lot of times our reading specialists will talk about as being like your virtual teaching assistant, because that's getting, you're getting information about the kids and whether their progress is. And then it recommends lessons that you can do with the kids. So, really looking at it in different ways. I mean, think about how long it takes to write a sub-plan. Well, if you can use something like this, maybe you're not spending so much time on that, and you can spend more time on figuring out something that really meaningful that you can do in a small group versus spending all, and also, so, kind of thinking about it that way as well, but also thinking about, I remember back when I first started teaching, people would say things like, well, if you can Google the answer to that, it's not a good question. Well, I think AI kind of fits into that too. I've been looking at a lot of things from, Holly Clark and Matt Miller. Well, what kind of assignments are we giving our kids? And are they just text, or are we asking them to add images? Are we asking them to create infographics, create videos, create podcasts? Well, those things you can't just do using the AI, but the AI can help you. I mean, think about when we were in school and we were looking up research on microfiche. Nobody's doing that now. Now we're able to, and honestly,
we didn't want to admit that we knew what that was. We're like, what? No.
My daughter right now is starting to look at colleges, and I put in ChatGPT. She wants to be a theater teacher. What are some of the best programs for theater education? It was so much quicker than doing a Google search.
Yeah, that's true.
So,
I'm sorry, go ahead, Deb.
No, that you're good.
No, I was just going to say, we're bringing up some great points, and that this actually is going to lead us right into our next question. But before we do, usually between questions 1 and 2, we always promote, because this is inside the principal's office, right? And so we promote the book here. And of course, one of the tenets of this is the learning leader, right? It's one of those areas that Mac talks a lot about. And this is perfect for that idea, is that if you were a leader and you think like, hey, I'm good, I don't need to grow, I don't need to do anything, like this is one of those areas that are like, hey, we need to make sure that we are staying at the forefront of this, because maybe we don't completely get it, but we're going to facilitate our students and our teachers as they continue to grow and to learn. So make sure, if you're interested in learning more, feel free to check us out on Amazon. We'll make sure that we drop Deb's link there as well, because we're not selfish here. We're going to promote. We're going to.
And you have a great book. I have 2 copies of it.
Yes. Yeah. Well, thank you.
I have one signed, one non-signed.
Well, thank you. I do appreciate the promotion of that. So question number 2 is actually talking about these exact things that we started leading into. So let's drop question 2 and continue the conversation.
Inside the principal's office discussion question 2. There are no shortages of new technologies in artificial intelligence that are beginning to become available to the public. What are some resources for leaders to begin their AI journey?
And this is a great, like we're always talking about, we talked a lot about AI. So like, where could we go to begin doing this, right? If the leader is saying, hey, I'm going to learn, I'm going to push out, I'm going to step outside of my comfort zone, what would be a spot where you would recommend me beginning that journey? Alfonso, I'm going to kick things over to you first.
Sure, excellent. Well, one of the things, because doing the podcast and talking a lot about AI, I got to meet Alex Cotran, who is the founder of the AI Education Project. And really, this project started from him kind of talking to his mom. He had several jobs during the Obama administration, so he had access to just an amazing, array of people. And he said that oftentimes the conversation would always be centered around new technologies and artificial intelligence. So he said that one day he was just, talking to his mom, and his mom's a school teacher, and that she just mentioned and said, I wish that somebody would teach our students this, because this is something that's relevant for their future. And that's how it kicked off. And really what it is, he's got a lot of information, but it's got intro slides. You've got slides, and it's a 10-week project-based, platform that they have, and they've got several little modules that you can do. And the only reason that I share this is this isn't a plug or anything. It's just a great resource. But what I mean is that it's something that is simple, easy to follow, easy to start, that not only will this benefit your principals, but it'll benefit even your school leaders, such as your superintendents, or if you want to do a presentation and do it with a school board, or you can go ahead and provide this to your teachers for PD sessions. And then they can also offer this, maybe if they have a computer science class, or maybe a tech apps class, they can go ahead and add this to the curriculum. And that way the students are a little bit more familiar, rather than just seeing what ChatGPT can do through TikTok, through, Facebook, or whatever social media they're on. They can earnestly understand the why of AI, and they can continue to grow from there. So that's definitely one of the resources that I have seen that will just definitely bring it to you at a level that is easy to digest and understand, and it really is engaging. So definitely recommend that.
Thank you. I'm gonna we're gonna have to, for you viewers, we're gonna have to drop these notes so that way you can access them, because I'm like, wait, what is that? Because I'm not as good for those of you, right? Like Mac somehow responds to people during these shows, and he's taking notes, but he never really breaks eye contact. I have no idea how he does that, because I was just looking for an email for my response, and I was like, I gotta stop.
Yeah, I pulled up the resource bonds that you shared, and I'm looking, I'm like, ooh. So that looks really great.
Well, what about you, Deb? Where would you recommend people begin?
Right now, I just finished reading Matt Miller's new book about AI and education, and to me, that was an easy place to start. Kind of digging deep into it, thinking about it. To me, I wanted to build my understanding of it, but as I started to try to look at stuff, some of the stuff I was finding was I'm not even sure where to go. So to me, that was a really helpful place to start. It's a really easy read. It has good concrete examples. And, I had seen posts on social media where he had shown different ways you could use, ChatGPT and AI. So to me, that was a good place to start, because I really wanted to just start thinking about how I could use it. Because at the beginning, I wasn't hearing anybody at my school talk about it. Now that's no longer the case. The person who's in charge of digital citizenship for our district has really spent a lot of time learning about it and providing us as staff, as technology specialist resources. So I've also been exploring those as well. She's been telling us people to check out on Twitter and things to look at, just to build our understanding, because this isn't something that might happen. It's already here, and we just have to really learn how to help our kids with it. And our even our youngest kids, they were Ed Puzzle is releasing something soon where it's going to have AI that will check things.
Hmm.
Well, that's a huge, that's a great thing to help teachers. So, yes, so we have to kind of look. I mean, think about Canva and all the AI they just incorporated inside of their platform. So we really do need to understand it in order to really understand, to use it. And the person inside, for me, like, I write all the time. The idea of somebody writing a blog post on ChatGPT and putting it out, some people are doing that. I still love the process of writing, but that doesn't mean that I can't take what I write and maybe put it through ChatGPT to see if there's a way of editing it.
Sure.
Um, so I really think that we have to look at things a little differently, because we it's going to be a different world, and maybe this is the push that education needs to take us to the level where we should be.
One of the things that I love the most is that, we're talking about AI, right? And one of the things that we're hearing is like AI is not just Chat GPT. It's probably one of the biggest things, right?
Right.
But, like I remember like Alfonso started this whole like Twitter movement with like Lenza, and then, there were some things about that, but like we all have these beautiful avatars.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, we contributed our faces to all these algorithms, but like what? We post stuff on social media all the time, right? Anyway,
Right.
but I think one of the resources, and I tried to find this, I started getting, I don't even know how I came across it, but every day I get an email with a prompt to try out in ChatGPT, right? And it says, hey, put this in and see what happens. And what's great about it, like today's prompt was list 5 potential pushbacks that a customer may give against blah, 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 right? And so it's a great thing. Like, one, it's building your skill on, well, how can I actually utilize ChatGPT? As we mentioned earlier, my input determines my output. So how can I get better at putting things in? But the more you utilize it, the better you get, the better feels you get. And it may prompt you to think about things like, I never thought about utilizing it, in that way before. Like, one was just like, hey, utilize this prompt and just to draft this like letter, right? And I was like, okay, let's see what it does. And it was like, I never would have thought about that, right? It just, those great brainstorming ideas, as you mentioned. I was an English teacher forever, and one of the hardest things was like, hey, we're gonna write this blank 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 essay about yada yada, and kids are like, I don't know what to write, like, right? Like, imagine putting that in and just saying, hey, what are some great topics about this? And it's like, and once I have that, because sometimes all it takes is that spark, right? Then I'm off and running. So some great ideas here. We're going to get ready to transition over into ideas that stick, but I don't want to just jump over into it. I want to ask any closing thoughts on resources out there, places where people can go, whether it's a ChatGPT for prompts, whether it's art, right? We see that people are generating all sorts of art, and you're right, Debbie. It is creating some division, right? Like, people who are like artists, right? And I don't mean it like that, but people are like, I've honed a skill and a craft, and I've dedicated years, and now you're throwing things into DALL-E Mini, right? And it's like, that's not fair, right? So any other resources where you would point people to just to begin this exploration before we jump into ideas that stick?
Yeah, I think I just wanted to add, I think that Debbie pointed out some wonderful ones, which was, the Canva with the AI integration. Also, Adobe Firefly is amazing also as well, to be able to create and what else? Midjourney, of course. And there's so much stuff that is out there. It's really just having the time, but to find what suits you. Don't try and get into everything all at once. And one thing that I love that you mentioned, Charles, earlier, was that sometimes we dive into the AI and we just go, but we never understand the why. So sometimes it's good to just slow down, keep it simple, and play around with some platforms, but also do a little bit of that research where you're actually understanding what is happening, with the data, because you just always want to be informed with the research. And I think Debbie mentioned some great points with a lot of platforms that were already using algorithms or some sort of AI to put students on certain pathways. But now what happened is just that the AI became forward facing rather than the back end where teachers didn't really think
Yeah.
about it. They never thought about,
Great
a
point.
platform that creates the pathways. They just said, oh, it's just a computer program. But now
Right.
you're seeing what was hidden is now right in front of us. And that kind of just took them back a bit.
Absolutely.
But honestly, like Debbie brought up some great points. And so I just wanted to add to what she said, like with Adobe Firefly, Midjourney, you've got Dolly, but just keep it simple. Keep it simple, have some fun, but do your research too as well.
And I think that, to quote you, you just have to get a little clicky with it.
Yes, get clicky with it. I like that. Yes.
I use that all the time, Fonz.
Awesome.
Amazing, amazing. All right, so we are going to transition into the part that I love the most, which is our ideas that stick. And as we begin to do so, these conversations are going to continue going. So we're going to drop some ways that you could connect with us afterwards. But we've talked a lot, and so we want to walk away with some practical ways that we could implement this. Hopefully, as you're watching this and you're jotting down all of your Mac nuggets, as we like to call them, we want to give you some ways that we can begin utilizing this in our own way. So I'll kick things off and then we'll just go around here. So for me, some of the practical ways that I want to begin exploring this is just really streamlining those everyday, those regular processes that we have. As Debbie pointed out, we often complain that we have so much on our plates and there's so much there. There's ways to kind of begin streamlining that, right? Looking at effectiveness and efficiency and simple things like newsletters, right? That have to go out consistently, right? This is one of those ways that I can begin exploring. Like, instead of spending all that time sitting there coming up with new ideas, right? AI might be able to help generate some ideas a little bit faster, free up a little bit of time. But leaders, I'm going to say this to you. Just because you're freeing up time on your own or for your teachers doesn't give you the right or the license to fill up that free time. There's a reason why we need to free that up. So teachers, I'm trying to help you out there, and leaders for ourselves. Like, don't just say, hey, I've saved 20 minutes. What else can I possibly do to cram in there? So definitely utilizing AI to streamline those processes. I was just at a meeting the other day and somebody was sitting next to me and she was doing exactly that, like coming up with like these plans, and she's just talking into it, right? And another person was like, what are you doing? And I was like, that's smart. Like, those little things that are always running in the back of our mind, kind of putting it in there, letting it generate, and just helping us, right? Just streamlining those processes. So Debbie, or I think Alfonso's next. I'm sorry. I might have had the order back.
Yeah, no.
Oh, it was Debbie. I'm sorry. Go
I
ahead.
am next.
Oh,
I
You
mean,
are right.
I think just really just try it out, try lots of different things and just see how you can use it. Don't be afraid to try things, but also be aware of what you're doing. I mean, it's really important that we learn how to use these things because our students are going to be using them, and we want to make sure that we can help our students and lead them through that process. And so really, just try it out. I started just trying it out with stuff in my personal life, started then trying to do it with some stuff in my professional life just to see how it could help. I definitely agree it can streamline a lot of those processes, but just, think about how you can use it. Because Charles, you're right. Depending on the input you give it, the output changes greatly. And there's a lot of great stuff out there where people are saying, well, here's how you can improve that input. And so that's also super interesting as well. And that's a great lesson in communication for our students too.
Absolutely. Because the same way here, right? What we put out determines what we're getting back. So
Yep.
Great idea. Fonz.
All right. Well, my idea really it just goes back to just the way that I've always seen things and share with our district is really just keep it simple and that it's okay to not know everything. Now, obviously, us as people that are always on Twitter and sharing our knowledge and are always on there, many times we'll share things and we see things from other people and, oh my gosh, I want to try that and I want to try this and so on because we want to be there at the very beginning and trying things out. But just keeping things simple and taking it at your own pace, sometimes it works out well to just be able to dive into 2 or 3 platforms, get really good at them. And like you mentioned, with the end result being, for me, it's always how can I amplify my creativity first? Because sometimes what will happen is, sometimes I want to express myself in ways that I can't, or maybe they don't come at me or come to me right away, but just amplifying my creativity. Like you said, getting some ideas, jotting out some concepts or new things to try. And also just understanding, like I mentioned, don't feel like you're getting left behind, guys. There is a lot of tech. There's a lot more tech that will be coming, and every day that this AI just continues to be used is probably the worst that we will see it. So today is probably the worst that we will see AI, and then tomorrow it's going to get that much better, and then the day after, and so on. So just take things at your own pace, and you'll see that all of those things will start sticking, where like Debbie and Charles and even myself have found out how this can definitely help streamline several processes during our day, during our week, and just to help us, again, gain back some of that time, whether it's you as a teacher to decompress and just relax, or just as a parent to be able to also find that time to do what you need to do. But this tool or these tools are definitely something that is amazing that we'll need to adapt to. But again, don't fear the tech. And like Debbie said when she quoted me, is just get clicky with it. Have some fun.
I love it. I love it. I love it. Man, I know I say this almost every episode, but it is impressive how quickly this time goes, right? When we've connected on our shows, like we're always like, wait, time is over already. But it is. Time is over. So as we could get ready to come to a close, for those of you watching, whether you're watching live right now or you are watching at a later time, this is a fantastic topic and something that we cannot really cover in great detail within 45 minutes. So I want to invite you to join us on our Facebook page, the Inside the Principal's Office group. Again, just because it says Principal's Office does not mean that you have to be a principal. Join us in that space. And I want to continue this conversation. In fact, I'm going to drop this right now here, and I'll jump over there and actually drop it. Either A, I want to hear from you. What is one way that you are currently utilizing AI to streamline your processes, to get better, to just create and to grow in this area? How are you currently utilizing AI? Or B, if you haven't started down that process, what is one thing? So I'm going to give you like a week. Come back and tell us, I tried this thing. This is what I tried. This is what I learned. This is how I grow. So that's my challenge to you right now. Join the space. Drop that information because I want to hear from you. But I could not say thank you enough to my two guests today. We would not be able to do these shows without you. So Fonz, Debbie, thank you so much for joining me. Wallace, the man behind the curtain. It's like AI right behind the, no.
Yeah.
Wallace is not AI. He's real, people. I know you don't see him. He's real. But thank you so much for being here, and we will catch you next month, last Thursday of the month. I believe that is the 24th, as we talk about just maintaining culture and climate through some challenging times as we close out the year and as we're thinking about how do we keep that momentum going throughout the summer and as we return. So thank you so much for being here, and until next time, take care.
Thanks for watching and learning with us at SchoolRubric with educators from across the globe. For more access to articles, magazines, podcasts, live episodes, our international school directory, courses, and more, visit us at schoolrubric.org. Thank you.